Hello everyone and welcome to another video. September is almost over, so I think it's safe to say that we're officially in fall season. And because of that, today, as you've probably seen in the title, I am going to do the It's Finally Fall book tag. So I tried to track down the original creator of this tag, and unfortunately she no longer has a YouTube channel, but she used to be Tall Tales. I'm gonna try and find a link if there is one still, but I can't promise anything. And without any more ranting, I'm just gonna dive right into the tag question prompts thingies. So I have the prompts on my laptop here on my lap, and I'm gonna read because I'm not gonna remember them by heart. So the first one is: in fall, the air is crisp and clear. Name a book with a vivid setting. Now for this one, I have quite a few options because I could not choose for the life in me. I am a Libra, and for Libras, making a solid decision is next to impossible. So I didn't want to torture myself, so I'm just gonna talk about all of my options. And those are Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik, The Sisters Grimm by Mena van Praag, probably butchered that, but oh well, and Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I just put them here because unfortunately I don't have the arm strength to hold them up, so I'm not gonna go too into depth on what these are about, because if I'll do that, then this video is gonna last 100 years without any exaggeration. So instead, I'm just gonna explain why I think these books are good for the prompt. In Spinning Silver, you can clearly see that it's kind of like a winter setting type of thing. You can tell from the cover, and that is precisely why I chose this book. The winter is quite a prominent thing in the plot and the story. In the story, we also deal with the fairy king of winter himself, so you can probably tell why the winter setting is quite vivid in this book. There's obviously a lot of snow, a lot of sleighing and ice and winds and cold, really cold. This book made me feel cold. And at some point in the story, you also get to travel in the land of winter or something. I don't remember exactly what it's called. I've read this a while ago and I have the worst memory known to mankind. So I probably made this sound god awful, but trust me, this is amazing book. And please, if you're even remotely interested in this, give this one a shot. I promise you will not regret it. Even though, side note, Naomi Novik's writing is not for everyone. The next one with a vivid setting is The Grimm Sisters. In here, basically what happens in the story is that there are these girls, the sisters, and they get to travel to this like fairyland type of world. I don't know, it's not really explained 100% in the book. It's very like whimsical and magical, and this land you can only travel to when there's a full moon and at 3 in the morning, if I'm not mistaken. And essentially that fairyland is what is vivid about this book. There's lots of nature elements like wind and trees, and I'm describing this badly, but the way it's written, you can clearly see all these elements like the rivers flowing and how the leaves crunch when you step on them and how the wind shuffles through the leaves and the crisp night air and the moon, and it's just very vivid. So this is, again, another option for a vivid setting. And the last book I want to talk about for this prompt is Strange the Dreamer. Now, this one doesn't exactly have a more nature type of setting for it to be vivid. This is quite an intense fantasy type of story, and maybe it might not be vivid for everyone, but for me, boy oh boy, I will never forget the images that this book gave me. Never ever. They're ingrained deep in my brain, and even with my horrible memory brain, I will probably never forget them because they were just so intense and unlike anything I've ever read about before, and also the imagination. Sometimes what I was reading was hard for me to imagine because I lacked the creativity to, and I think that's part of why I think this whole book is so vivid to me. And yeah, I lack the words to describe this is a work of art, a masterpiece, a magnificent legendary book and story and plot and characters. And just, can you tell I love this book? I love this book. So on to the next prompt, because I've been talking for ages already. The prompt number 2 is: nature is beautiful but also dying. Name a book that is beautifully written but also deals with a heavy topic like loss or grief. And boy oh boy do I have the perfect book for this. And that is The Astonishing Colors of Ever After by Emily Exarpan. Now, if you've never heard about this book before, then where have you been? Because this book has been very popular on booktube and just book world communities in general, and honestly I think it does deserve the hype because it does deal with a heavy topic. It deals with the loss of a parent, so also keep that in mind if that is triggering for you before going into this book. But at the same time, it's so beautifully written, and it also has a whimsical element to it that just adds to the beauty, and it kind of gives the story a sort of lyricism, if that makes any sense. I don't know. I guess taste in writing is subjective, so what I might find beautiful writing might not be beautiful writing for something else. But for me, this was beautiful writing, and also obviously deals with grief and a heavy topic. I just want to say what this book is about real quick. So basically, in this book, we follow an Asian American girl. Her name is Lei. I'm gonna go with Lei. And we follow her after the death of her mother, and she obviously is not dealing with it. It's something hard to deal with. I couldn't even imagine. And what she tries to do is she goes back to Taiwan and she's trying to connect with her Asian roots and see where her mother came from, and she's also meeting her grandparents for the first time. And she's doing all of this while being guided by a strange bird, which she thinks is a sort of reincarnation of her mother. And I'd say that's probably all you need to know about this book before going into it. The rest is just something to be discovered while reading this. Prompt number 3 is: fall is back to school season. Share a nonfiction book that taught you something new. Now, for this one, I thought I would struggle to find a book because I don't really read nonfiction. I've probably read like a handful, maybe 3 or 4 nonfiction books, but by some miracle I had the perfect book for this, and that is Persepolis by Marianne Satrapi. This one is more of a memoir slash nonfiction slash graphic novel. It is written in graphic novel formation, and you've seen I've highlighted some things in there, which should tell you that I have learned some things. I've learned a lot of things from this book because this book takes place in Iran, and I knew next to nothing about that country, and I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about its people and its politics and its history, and I really enjoyed it, and I strongly recommend every single person to read this because it's just good information. It's stuff that I think people should know, and you don't need more reason than that. And I think this got adapted into a movie, so if you're not into graphic novels, then you can just go watch the movie. I want to watch the movie, but I haven't yet because I'm bad at watching movies. Yeah, Persepolis. And on to the next prompt. Prompt number 4 is: in order to keep warm, it's good to spend some time with the people we love. Name a fictional family, household, or friend group that you'd like to be a part of. Now, for this one, I was this close to picking the Shadowhunter realm because I'd probably love to befriend not every single, but almost every single one of those characters. But I found something better, I think. No, pretty sure it's better. So the book I went with is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Now, for me, this was not a book I had to study in school because I'm not from the US, and I just read this in my own time, at my own pace, without analyzing it. And I think that's part of the reason why I loved it so much, because I remember hating the books I had to learn in school, and I probably would have hated this as well if I had to learn about this in school. But I didn't, so I kind of consider myself lucky. Anyhow, ranting again. In this book, if you don't know what it's about, we mainly follow the Finches, and particularly Scout Finch. And she is the little girl of the family. She also has a brother, Jam, and their father is called Atticus Finch. It's been a good many years since I've read this, and because of that, I don't remember many details to tell you why exactly I love this family so much. But all I know is that they're just so heartwarming, and for some reason, they've been ingrained into my soul and heart and brain and just every fiber of my being. And I love them with everything I have, and that is precisely what you would need to feel for a book for this prompt, in my opinion. So the Finches, definitely, like just having cups of tea around a fire and just huddle together with the Finches, there's nothing greater than that. It would just be a jolly, good, wholesome, fun time, and who doesn't want that? And on to prompt number 5, which is the colorful leaves are piling up on the ground, shows a pile of fall colored spine. That is quite easy since they're literally in front of you, and I don't have to take out a single one of them. Prompt number 6 is fall is the perfect time for storytelling by the fireside. Share a book wherein somebody is telling a story. And the perfect book for this is none other than Nevernight by J. Kristoff. Though to be honest, this could have worked for the vivid setting as well, because this world is very vivid. But I'll just leave it for the storytelling one because I couldn't find any other books where someone is telling a story, or maybe I do have some, but I just either haven't read them or don't remember that detail. So, sticking with Nevernight. So, in this book, you mainly follow Mia Corvere, which I think is how you're supposed to pronounce her name. Her parents are killed when she's 6 years old, and she grows up to become an assassin and get revenge on the guy that killed her parents. And that is essentially the story. It has an assassin school, and it has a lot of gory, blood, slashing, killing details. So this is not for kids. It is definitely adult, and there's also sexual content, so be aware of that. It also has very dense and complex writing, which might not be for everybody, and it was very hard to get through for me, but it was worth every single stab in my eyes because the letters are tiny as heck. But the reason I chose this for this prompt is because the narrator is not Mia, somebody else narrates her story. So essentially, the entire trilogy is an entire story narrated by one of the characters from the story that you don't find out who they are until the end. Prompt number 7 is The Nights Are Getting Darker. Share a dark, creepy read. For this one, I had like an instant, that is the one for this. And that book is Eight Will Fall by Sarah Harrion. I recently read this, and I don't normally read creepy stuff, not because I don't want to, but it's just not something I tend to reach for. But I got this in a fairy loot, and since I had it, I was like, might as well give it a read, and it turned out to be pretty fucking creepy, let me tell you. In this book, you follow a group of people, 8 people, that have to go in some underground mines to go find this century or millennia years old person that is considered a god that may or may not exist or may not be alive. And this group of people has to go there and kill them because they've been ordered by the queen to do so. And while in those mines, there's creatures and there's a lot of body horror, a lot of body horror. Oh my god, the gruesomeness, the gory details, the guts and the blood. That should be enough to creep somebody out, at least even a little bit, or maybe like make you feel slightly nauseated. I am the kind of person that can deal with that kind of stuff. I'm not too repelled by body horror, but what did it for me was the underground factor, because that just, no, I cannot deal with the being trapped underground, miles and miles away from the surface, in the dark, with barely any food, water, and other supplies, and with creatures lurking. So that is why it was creepy for me, and that is why I think it is perfect for this prompt. Prompt number 8 is: the days are getting colder. Name a short, heartwarming read that could warm up somebody's cold and rainy day. Now, for this one, I also have 2 options, and those are The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky and In Real Life by Cory Doctorow and Jen Wang. Both of these stories are super heartwarming and, as you can see, pretty short. I'd say decently short. I'd say for sure both of these could warm anyone's heart. In Perks of Being a Wallflower, you have the group of friends and mostly Charlie. Dearest, darling Charlie. Like, if Charlie can warm up your heart, then what is wrong with you? And in real life, you have Anda, and this is a graphic novel, if you couldn't tell, and the artwork is pretty cool. Lots of colors and cute art style, and it's about accepting yourself and also helping others and learning the difference between right and wrong. And it was just sweet and adorable, and as was the Perks of Being a Wallflower, and both of these just warm your heart and just they make you want to snuggle something, and therefore perfect for this prompt. The next prompt, which is prompt number 9, is: fall returns every year. Name an old favorite that you'd like to return to soon. Now, this was kind of tricky because I did not reread books because I feel like I'm wasting my time when I could read something new, a new story, a new world, new characters, and all of that. But if I were to reread something, and to be honest, I do want to reread this very, very much, and hopefully I will sometime in the future, soon, one day, eventually. And I lost my track of thought. Yeah, basically the book that I want to mention is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson. This book is hands down, without a shadow of a doubt, my absolute favorite book ever that I've ever read. I've read this a really long time ago, and because of that, I've forgotten a lot of things, and I would like to remember those things again, because I remember loving this to death, and not just this one, but the entire series. So it would be nice to reread it, but the reason I love it, I should probably mention why, is mainly the main character, or at least one of the main characters. So you have Lisbeth Salander and Mikael Blomkvist, and this is a translated work. It was originally written in Swedish, and this is the American movie cover. So, there's a movie if you want to watch it. But yeah, the reason I love this is the main characters, mainly Lisbeth. And I cannot explain exactly why. I just do. I've never felt like this towards a character. I've never been more obsessed with a character. There are no words, only incoherent feelings and thoughts in here that make no sense and I cannot utter. They just are. They just exist floating in my headspace. And I would love nothing more than to explain to you what this is about, but I'll probably confuse the heck out of you. But even so, I will try nonetheless. So the book essentially starts off with Blomkvist, and he is hired to write this memoir of sorts for this very rich and known family, the Vangers. But that is just all a cover-up. In reality, what he's gonna do is he's going to be searching for one of the missing family members, because Blomkvist is really good at that, but he's not a detective though. This is not a detective novel. He is a journalist, and he owns Millennium, which is like a newspaper magazine that's very famous in Sweden. And Blomkvist doesn't know this at first, but he'll have to work with Lisbeth. And Lisbeth is this black hat hacker. She is this prodigy, genius, super smart person, and she's very unusual. She's very different. Obviously, people form a certain opinion when they see her, and she's not the best person to be around and hang out with. She's clearly antisocial and not approachable and intimidating, but that's what makes the whole thing so fun. And yeah, they have to work together to uncover this mystery of where Harriet Vanger has disappeared to many years ago. And a lot of stuff happens. There's a lot of skeletons found in the closet and a lot of dirt dug out on the Vangers. And there's also a lot of personal stuff that happen in both of the characters' lives that have nothing to do with the Vangers and the mystery thing, but also is very important to the story. And it's just great. It's so complex but genius, and Stieg Larsson is a genius, and I'm gutted. Let me tell you, I am gutted, heartbroken, and devastated that this author is no longer alive and he can no longer make more masterpieces aside from the Millennium trilogy slash series. But I'm not gonna end on a sad note, because the next prompt is kind of cute. And that is, fall is the perfect time for cozy reading nights. Share your favorite cozy reading accessories. Now, for me, essentials for reading, especially during a rainy day and you want to be cozy on that rainy day, the essentials are blankets, tea, and candles. This trio is the ultimate trio of coziness. And lastly, I'm supposed to tag some people to do this tag and spread the fall appreciation, but I am new here and I have no one to tag. And even if I did, I wouldn't be able to choose anybody because, as I've mentioned previously, I'm a Libra. So if you want to do this tag, please do so. Feel free to do this tag because it's quite fun. I had a fun time doing it, and I bet you will as well. And with that, I conclude my video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed me rambling aimlessly about books, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.